Goldberg, and really to all of you, as I keep saying, it's really not how many people we have, it's the right people. And so you're the right people to help us bring in Shabbos with joy. So thank you. Here we are in February, and if we think about as Americans, February as Black History Month. And in the Jewish community, February is associated with inclusion, with Disability Inclusion Month, and there's programs around the community to honor that. And this Shabbat in particular is also a special Shabbat. Rabbi Goldberg tomorrow will be teaching about what's called Repro Shabbat, about reproductive justice. And I thought about sort of those themes when I noticed a verse that kind of drew me to explore further in tomorrow's Torah reading, the verse that speaks about inclusion, and on the surface about exclusion. It comes at the end of the description of all of the pilgrimage festivals, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. And the Torah says 3 times a year, people are supposed to make pilgrimage to appear before God in the Beit HaMikdash, in the temple. But who specifically is supposed to appear? I heard you say, Debbie? The men. Kol zechorcha. It says shlosh pa'amim b'shana yera'eh kol zechorcha al panei Adon Adonai. 3 times a year, kol zechorcha. All of the men among you shall come appear before the Master in God's house. Now, first of all, it's the first time the Torah, I think it's the only time the Torah uses this particular phrase, zechorcha. It's a little bit of an unusual phrase. It's not et hazakarim shalcha, it's not shelcha, it's zechorcha, meaning those males among you is how the rabbis understand it. The rabbis say specifically it refers to the men should appear. It says lahotziat anashim, to exclude women and androgynous and tumtum. As well, the rabbis say those who are blind are also excluded is maybe a little bit too strong of a word. The actual kind of implication of the exclusion is that they are exempt, meaning that they're not required, which actually we have to understand in its context is actually an act of chesed. It's an act of loving kindness that a blind person, for example, wouldn't have to schlep to Jerusalem because it would be quite difficult for them. And in a patriarchal society where women were likely responsible for being at home with children, with work, they were exempt from the obligation of making Aliyah L'Rego, making this pilgrimage. They weren't forbidden from it, they were only exempt. And in fact, we know from the Tanakh, for example, think of Hannah, that we read about in Rosh Hashanah, she does go to the temple. Now, we don't know that that was as part of a pilgrimage festival per se for Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah. But we can understand the kind of the Torah in this context. But we're also given, if it rubs us the wrong way, that there are all these people are excluded from this mitzvah of appearing before God, perhaps we take some comfort in the fact that this is only the first word, not the last word about inclusion. In fact, if we jump ahead 3 more books, we come to Deuteronomy, the same mitzvah of making Aliyah L'Rego, what does it say? Everyone is supposed to go up to Jerusalem. You, now admittedly it says ata and not ve'at, you, but it includes the men and the women, the sons and the daughters, as well as all kinds of other people in your midst are to make a pilgrimage. And so I would say that has been the trajectory already in the Torah of greater inclusion. Beginning here we are in Shemot, and this will continue to Devarim, Deuteronomy, and on into rabbinic literature up until today, a greater amount of inclusion. The other part about this passage that always strikes me that I find so beautiful is that we are commanded to bring with us. We should not come to the sanctuary empty-handed. Now, in the time of the Torah, it refers to bring your flock or bring your offerings, bring your first fruits. We're to come with our expressions of gratitude. And lastly, it says, come and appear before God. And we can understand that word yevra, and not only to appear, but to be seen. That you are to be seen in the fullness of who you are. And certainly as we think about a sanctuary where God dwells, we expect God to see all people, and we hope that all people are seen in the fullness of who they are, in their gender, in their abilities, in their disabilities, in all of who they are. And so as we enter the Shabbat and we imagine and feel perhaps that not just all of us here, but Dafka, Shabbat HaMalkah, the bride is appearing in this sanctuary, the Shabbos queen, the Shabbos bride, that as we enter this Shabbat, that we feel that we not only we have the opportunity to see each other, but that we are seen by God in that way. We pray that not only do we not come empty-handed, but we don't leave empty-handed either. Shabbat Shalom.